Chris Green from greenforcetactical.com. We're here at the Knife Kits DIY laboratory, and we're going to be constructing a pancake style knife sheath. We're not going to construct it for this knife though. We're going to construct it for my personal knife, the Asgard K12 that Gabriel Kinderknecht built for me. In order to do that, we're going to need a few simple common hand tools. We're going to need a razor knife for cutting our Kydex. We're going to need a ruler for figuring out where to cut our Kydex. And as this is a two-piece, we'll need a drill bit to drill through the layers to make the holes that we're going to put eyelets in, that we're going to use to fasten the two sides together. We'll use a few specialty tools, a flaring press, which will flare the eyelets and put the two sides together, and a forming press, which will form the Kydex for us. So again, this is the knife we're going to use. Let's get started. Okay, so the first step we're going to do is we're going to determine the size of the material that we're going to need for our pancake sheath. And the way we do that is we take our item and we lay it down on the material. Now you want about a half an inch above and about a half an inch below to give you plenty of room for the eyelets. So what I like to do is lay the item down, put my ruler on it, and give myself plenty of room. In this case, it looks like 4 inches is going to be plenty for us. So I'm going to mark 4 inches at both edges. And now I'm going to take my razor knife and connect these marks and get myself a nice straight cut. Now, when I score Kydex, in order to avoid problems, what I like to do is the first pull, I just like to put very little pressure with the knife on the material, and that establishes a pathway for the razor knife to run in subsequent passes. So the second pass will be a little bit harder, and the third one I'll apply even more pressure. And at the end of the third one, you'll be able to take your Kydex, put it on the edge of a piece of bench, and bend it on the score line, and it'll break just like that. So you fold it back the other way, and the material is loose. Now we'll have to cut this piece into 2 pieces for the taco. So the easiest thing to do is to just cut it in half. So what I'll do is mark it at 6 inches, mark the other side at 6 inches, and then again connect those with the razor knife. First pass very light, barely scratching. Second one a little harder, and the third one's where you do most of your work. And it breaks just that easy. Now, you can see that we have ample room around the item for eyeletting and for forming our retention. So the next step in this process is going to be to heat the Kydex. Let's go do that now. Okay, now we're going to heat the Kydex. And we're building the pancake, which is 2 separate pieces of Kydex with the items sandwiched between them instead of folded over. That's why it's called a pancake. You ever go buy pancakes? They're usually stacked up like this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to place both these pieces in the oven. And it's important to remember that Kydex has 2 sides. It has a shiny side and a textured side. And you always want to heat it with the textured side up so that it doesn't pick up any marks that you're going to see from the grill in the oven. Okay? So what I like to do is I like to open the oven cold, place both pieces on the middle rack, leave a little bit of space between them. You don't want them touching because it'll interfere with the way the heat transfers. Shut the oven, set it for a little over 300 degrees, and turn it on. Now, we're going to sample the temperature from the outside with a non-contact heat gun. These are an invaluable little tool. So the way you're going to use it is you're going to have to open the oven and take the shots with the laser. If you try to shine it through the glass, it'll just tell you how hot the glass is. Now, where we're going to be working with this stuff, it's going to be between 305 and 325 degrees. So it's very important that you wear gloves when you're handling the Kydex as it comes out of the oven. It's going to be hot. If you don't wear gloves, you're going to drop it, I hope. Something else to be aware of when you're working with a knife and you're going to be doing hot Kydex, it's always a good idea to tape up the sharp edge of the knife. You just want to put a little bit of tape there to protect the Kydex from that sharp edge so that when you're handling it, it doesn't put any blemishes or make any cuts in the soft Kydex. The stuff will be The material will generally be about the consistency of flexible rubber gasket material, so it's fairly soft when it's in its transition state. So let's take us a quick sample of our temperature. Let's see where we are. Yep, we're just starting to come up now. Now when we're about halfway through, I'm going to rotate both those pieces of Kydex so that they heat evenly. When you're using a toaster oven, this is the basics. I'm showing you the basics of how to get into doing this type of thing. If you're using a toaster oven, I highly recommend that you go buy a used one from a thrift shop or a new one from a grocery store, but what you don't want to do is use the one that you're going to cook food in. It's never a good idea to heat up plastic in something that you're going to put pizza rolls in later, because likely as not your pizza rolls are going to pick up the flavor of the plastic. Nobody likes plastic flavored pizza rolls. So let's give this a quick test. See where we are. All right. We are at about 175 degrees on both of them. Means we're about halfway to the goal. You want to pay attention to your Kydex. Don't walk away from it. When you've got it in the toaster oven's got a clear glass front on it. Keep an eye on it, and you'll notice that the edges will roll up a little bit, and then they'll roll down. When they roll down, that's a good time to take a temperature. It's been our experience that when it rolls back down, it's generally within a few seconds of being ready. Another thing is when you're going from molding to pressing, you want to make sure that you waste as little time as possible between the heat and the press, because the more the material cools off as it's coming from the heat to the press, the less definition you'll get, the less flexible it'll be when you apply the foam pressure, and that's not what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve the best definition we can. So you want to move quickly, plan your steps, and know where you're going to go from here to there. Have everything laid out and ready, have your press ready, have your item ready. Have everything in readiness so that when you bring it out, you don't have to waste any time. It goes right where you're going to put it. You close the press and get it under pressure. Once you get under pressure, you have all the time in the world to do whatever you need to do. Let's take us a quick look here. We are at 265 on both. So very quickly, I'm going to spin these pieces around. And that little bit of smoke you saw there coming off my glove tells you why you wear gloves when you stick your hands in the toaster oven. So we'll give this just another 30, 45 seconds. We'll take another temperature reading, and I'm confident they'll be real close. Let's see what we got. Okay, we're in the short strokes now, folks. Okay, so you want to go ahead and pre-plan where you're going to place your item. It's a good idea to have it centered up in the press, pressure's even, and you know where you're going with it when you put your decks in here. So you know where you're going to put it, set it aside. We are at 315. We're going to put our first piece in. We're going to place our item centered in it. And then we're going to put our last piece on. Make sure you line the pieces up so you don't have anything goofy going on. And close your press. That's it. Now we'll wait about 15 minutes and we'll come back and see where we are. We'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. Now, it's been about 15 minutes. We're going to open up the press and see what we've got. Oh, this is very nice. So when you're looking at your definition and you're trying to decide whether you've got a good mold or not, you'll notice that you can see all of the detail work of the knife through the decks. It's taken a good impression. It's got good definition. Everything's nice and lined up. We don't have any weird squirrely lines or anything. So we're going to take this over and drill and put a line of eyelets here and a line of eyelets here. So let's go ahead and get to drilling. Well, now that we've molded it, let me show you how to do the layout so we can decide where to put the eyelets and the holes that the eyelets go in. So we're going to go ahead and put some pencil marks on our sheath here and show you how that goes. When you're deciding where the holes go, a couple of things are going to dictate that. The first one is the top line, you're going to want a push-off point for your thumb so that when you go to take the knife out of the scabbard, you want to be able to push the scabbard off of the knife. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a line right here where I think that ought to be. And then down here where we're going to do finger clearance, where we're going to clearance the handle of the knife where you can get a hold of it, we're going to go ahead and just put some basic marks down there like that. Now, you're going to take your ruler, step out away from the knife just a little bit, and draw a line. And this line is really just a guide. See, it runs parallel to the knife edge there, and pretty much gives us what we want. So we're going to come down here to the bottom and do exactly the same thing. I'm going to step off just a little bit, get parallel, draw the line, and again you can see that it follows the bottom part of the knife pretty much. Again, there's going to be some artistic license here. You decide what your scabbard looks like, and you're the one doing it. So make sure you make something that makes you happy. So those are our basic lines right there. Obviously, we're not going to leave it sharp and pointy on the end, but you get the idea. The next thing we're going to do is I have a little drill guide here. It's just a little piece of plate that's had some holes drilled in it. And that just lets me keep regular spacing. You don't have to do this. You can just do layout and determine where your holes are going to be by measuring. This just allows me to very quickly go down through here and see what it's going to look like. You don't have to have it. It's just one of those things that we put together to make things better for us. So I'm going to go ahead and lay some dots down here, and then I'll hold it up so that you can see what we're working with. There we are. I'm not real happy with those. The nice thing about pencil is you can rub it off with your thumb and come right back. Now, again, we're not deciding right now that this is exactly where all of these eyelets are going to go. We're just trying to get an idea about what we're working with here. Okay? So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use this one, but I'm not going to use this one out here because it's off the end and it's really not helping us any. So this is going to be the push-off point for your thumb so that you can push the sheath off of the knife when you want to get it out, and you don't have to snap it and pop it and make all the fun noises. So now that we've got this laid out, and you can see I'm a little above the line here, that's just where it came out to be happy. And again, we just want to stay parallel to that line. It's not a hard and fast thing. So let's go ahead and drill it. So when we're going to be drilling this, what you want to do is I take my drill guide and I lightly clamp it to the workpiece, like that. Now I'll take and drill my first hole. Right. Then I'll take an eyelet and push it through from the backside, and that will pin this guide so that the guide can't wiggle around on me and get dumb. See, we've got the eyelet in this hole, and then that's going to keep this thing from walking around when I'm drilling the rest of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and drill the end hole of this set of 4. Again, you don't want to put too much pressure on it. You want to let the drill do its job, and then you'll poke the other one through. Now, I have this drill guide pinned along here, and I can drill these other 2 holes without really worrying about it walking around. So, all right, so let's take this off and see what that looks like. And you want to, anything you got stuck in the hole, you just go ahead and poke it out of there. Won't hurt anything. So there's your... Hi, we're about halfway through the video, so I want to take a moment. If this seems like it's a little too much for you, or you just don't have the space, we'll be happy to build you a blaster scabbard or a knife sheath or whatever you'd like. Just hit us up on our website at greenforcetactical.com. Please follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, and on YouTube at Green Force Tactical. Again, we appreciate you watching, and enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you. Your 4 drilled holes in a line, straight. They're all in a line together. Nobody's out of line and wonky. Now, you're going to use this eyelet to pivot. This eyelet's going to be your pivot man. So here's how that's going to work. I'm going to take your drill guide, put it on that eyelet, like that, and you see it's become the pivot. So that lets you turn the corner without worrying about anything weird happening, without your drill guide walking off or doing anything strange. So again, you're going to go to the farthest away hole, the last hole you're going to drill. Drill that hole. Pin it with an eyelet. So now we've got two places pinned, and it can't walk around, and we'll go ahead and drill this middle hole. Bazinga. So, as you can see, what that results in is a very satisfactory straight line, a turn, and then another straight line. So now we're going to go ahead and do the top line. So we'll take these eyelets out. We'll put our drill guide on here, locate our first hole, lightly clamp it, because again, all we're trying to do is hold the drill guide to the material, not necessarily keep it from moving, because we're just drilling the first hole here. Keep your fingers clear of the hole. And just remember, if you drill a hole in your own finger, it still counts. You want to avoid doing that at all costs. So now, we have the first hole drilled, and we have our distal piece down. So now we'll go up here and we'll drill this end hole right here. So we'll put a little clampy-dampy on it. Drill our final end hole here. Now, you can see that we have this end and this end done. So we'll go ahead and put a pin through there, which is just a longer eyelet. And this just keeps everything straight. You can do this any way you want. This is just the way we do it at Green Force Tactical. It gives us a nice uniform look without spending a terrible amount of time doing layout. So we'll just go ahead and drill the interstitial holes now. And there you are. So, this is what we ended up with. Pull these eyelets out of here so you can see. What we ended up with is a nice set of straight lines, transitioning around, nice set of straight lines, nice set of straight lines. You want to avoid having holes that are out of line with each other. If you can ever avoid it, just try to make them nice straight lines with transitions. And when you have to go around the corner, put one in there and pivot it around so that you stay straight. And that's basically what we're going for. So we're done drilling this now. We can take the knife out just by giving it a little twist. And there we go. We separate the halves. Now we're ready to clean up the inside here, clean off any flashing that might be on there or any drilling gras-du. And now we'll eyelet it together. We'll be back. All right. So here we are at the flaring press, and we're going to go ahead and put the eyelets in our pancake knife sheath here. So the decision you have to make is which side of this do you want to be the front. So I'm right-handed, so this would probably be the front for me. And the reason that's important is because your eyelets have a pre-flared side, and that side is always going to be the prettiest side when you get done flaring it, because the other side's going to have to move a little bit in the flaring. So what I'm doing now is I'm just placing all of the eyelets by hand, nice and easy, through the holes. And I'll show you what that looks like when I get done. Okay, so that's what that looks like. This is the front side, and this is the rear side. And you can see that these are the parts right here that are going to be flared and rolled. So when we go over here and put it on the press, what you want to do is make sure that this part that's going to be rolled has the spike facing into it. That spike is going to keep it aligned in the die. So when you bring it over, you set the pre-rolled side down on the die and get it all happy. And then you bring the top part down with the spike on it, and you use that to get everything aligned. Now, you can see the handle going down, Means everything's getting aligned. Now that everything's lined up, I'll just apply a little bit of pressure, not much. See, I'm just doing it with the ball of my hand. And you'll feel when it stops. And don't go any more. Just go ahead and ease that up. Take a look at what you got. This one's going to need just a little bit more flaring. It's always good to, there we go. And now you can see what that pretty flared eyelet on the back side looks like. That's what it looks like on the front. So continuing on, we'll just go ahead and get it lined up. Bring the spike top down. Move it around a little bit, make sure everybody's happy. And go ahead and roll the eyelet. Now some people call this rolling, some people call it flaring, some people call it squashing. But it's all the same thing. You're forcing this little brass tube into a cone, and it's rolling it around, hopefully in a controlled fashion. And just continue from one eyelet to the next. It's best to work in a straight line. And just work from one side to the other. Don't try to skip around. You're not tightening up lug nuts or torquing down a head. Just go ahead and run in a line. Make sure everything's cool. Squish. Make sure everything's good. Now, if when you're doing this, you're moving this thing around a little bit like this, and you feel something that feels weird, take it out and look at it. Make sure you haven't done anything goofy. Because once you start squishing it, it's really too late. And trust me when I say you don't want to have to remove a messed up eyelet. It's time consuming, and nobody enjoys doing it. So here we are coming up on the next to last one. Remember, it's always the last one or the next to last one that messes you up. So go ahead and just take a look at stuff and be super careful. And there's your last one. Okay. And there's the last one. As you can see, they're just as pretty on the back as they are on the front. They're just a little bit smaller in diameter because they're not the pre-rolled size. So next up, we're going to go ahead and cut it to shape and start working towards our final shape. So I'll see you over there at the saw. Okay, here we are at the saw with the pancake knife sheath, and we're going to go ahead and use the saw to establish the basic finished outline, and then we're going to go over to the sander and finish that up. So, if you're ready, let's get to the saw. Again, you don't want to cut too close to the eyelets, but you want to cut close enough that you don't have to sand for the rest of your life. And there we have it. That's the basic outline that we're going to take, and we'll go ahead and round everything up with the sander and make everything smooth and matched. So this is the pancake knife sheath, and the next place we'll go is to the sander. Okay, here we are over at the Kalamazoo grinder, where we're going to go ahead and put the final shape and sand on this pancake style knife sheath, and let's go ahead and get to that, and I'll show you how that goes. Let's see how that fits. Yep, I'm happy with that. Okay, so here's our finished pancake style basic knife sheath. The edges are all smoothed up and all the radiuses are rounded off. We haven't put a mirror polish on this. That'll be covered in one of our upcoming advanced videos, so be sure and tune in. This is Chris from Green Force, reminding you to always be awesome. We appreciate you watching. See you next time.